wanderlust king.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Angels with Scaly Wings. Last time there was sound of gunshots over by the portal. We went there. We got like blindfolded and knocked out by the motherfucker who was there or some shit like that. And after that, we turned in our findings of what the police wanted us to look for. We turned in whatever we found. And then we had a day at the beach with a dean. So, and that's where we left off. She's getting ready for the big competition, and we're going to see where today leads. As for today, I was planning on meeting with Lorem. I went to the bar Lorem had suggested as our meeting place. When I looked around, I saw Bryce sitting at a table talking to someone I couldn't see. I lingered on him for a second, but soon spotted Lorem in the corner of my eye. There you are! Hey, Lorem. It's good to see you. I thought you might not show up. Am I late? Not at all. I got here early. I'm kind of surprised you wanted to meet me here. Don't take this the wrong way, but are you even old enough to drink? What are you talking about? Oh, I see. I can assure you I'm a fully grown adult. My species doesn't get much bigger than this. Speaking of which, are you fully grown yet? How big do humans usually get, and how do you stack up comparatively speaking? Oh, and would you mind if I took some notes? Before we get to that, you haven't even told me what exactly all this is for yet. Are you sure you're not a reporter? See, if I was, Sebastian wouldn't have let me meet you in the first place. And I thought the uniform was just a clever disguise. It's real, though. Sebastian knows I work for the local post office. Excuse me, but all this still doesn't really tell me anything about why I'm here. You're a postman who wants to interview me for what exactly? Sorry, I guess I got ahead of myself here. Maybe a full introduction is in order, and after that you can still decide whether you want to go through with this or not. I already regret coming here. Sounds good to me. I recently graduated college with a degree on computing and moved here with a good friend of mine. This town doesn't exactly offer the best opportunities to put my degree to use, though. Then why move here in the first place? Living in the city can be very expensive. I can always move later when I get a job there. I've got other plans right now, though. I'm working on a video game. A video game? Sounds interesting. Exactly! Video games and computers are just starting to catch on in places like this town. Making good content will be very important to give a good first impression. And humans have always been a part of our media. Books, movies, and now games. With you on our side, this could be an amazing opportunity. Well... Oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all. You're right about that. I can't help but feel a little deceived by this. Besides, your job must be really stressful, and you're probably already in the spotlight all the time, and now to top it all off, you got some postman harassing you for an interview. If you wanted me to leave, I get that. Stay. Well, I'm already here, and I have nothing else to do, so let's make the most of this. Yes, thank you! At least I won't have to be so careful now. With a reporter, I'd have to worry about things being misinterpreted or being taken out of context. You should still be careful. What you tell me now will influence how your entire species will be represented in my game. Don't worry though, I'll treat this delicate matter with the required finesse. Don't get ahead of yourself, we haven't even started yet. How should we do this? Let me think. why do you want to make this game in the first place? I've always wanted to make a video game. I've had this idea for a while, and it seems right, and it seems now is the right time to do it. It's almost as if you arrived at the perfect moment. I don't know. Don't you think my visible overshadow your efforts? People may not be so interested in playing a game about humans anymore if they had a real one show up. Good point, but the vast majority won't get to meet you personally anyway. If I say I did and modeled the humans in the game after you, people will flock to it to get a similar experience. Does that mean I'm gonna be your game's mascot? I guess you could say so. Okay, but why focus on humans? What makes us so important? If there's one thing people around here love, it's humans. It doesn't matter if they just see them in the media or believe them as mythical creatures. For me, humans were always real. I just didn't know whether I'd get the chance to meet one myself. Guess I can cross that one off the bucket list. Now that we're here, I can tell you that no expense will be spared to make our portrayal of humans as accurate as possible. You certainly seem passionate enough about this. For good reason. I just love humans. If you say it like that, it actually ends up sounding pretty weird. Besides, what if I turned out to be a horrible person? What would you think about humans then? It wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't base any of my opinions of an entire species on interactions with a single individual. Then what's your current opinion of us based on? Just the myths we have and the previous portrayals of human in our media. But I suppose that's why I'm here talking to you right now. I want the truth, all of it. Telling you all of it might not be such a good idea. Oh yeah, I guess that would take a lot more time than we have today. Anyway, what's the actual game about? What do you do? It's a community simulation game. It all starts with the player character moving into a procedurally generated community, which is inhabited by all kinds of mythical creatures, humans included. Mythical creatures like humans. Not only are the towns you move into unique, but the inhabitants are too. There are a variety of traits that get randomized, both in looks and personality. There are many things you can do, but it's very open-ended and you can live your life there however you want to. Sounds like my kind of game! Oh, really? I couldn't ask for a better compliment than that. What other mythical creatures are there besides humans? I haven't worked that out yet, but humans alone give us a lot of material to work with. How so? The question of the mythical human can be tackled in a variety of ways. There are many different interpretations of what humans are like. For example, generally, mythical human can be divided into three categories. Firstly, the human set as a physical creature. Secondly, the human as a non-physical entity. And thirdly, the human as a spiritual being. Let's start with the physical aspects. Sure. Since one of our myths tells us that human who created us eventually turned into a dragon, there is a lot of room for interpretation as to how similar humans actually are to dragons. I can see you don't have wings, but most of us are able to create fire in some way, or at least have a breath weapon. How about you? I can rub two sticks together to make fire. Does that count? Not really. Having hands that are dexterous enough to do that is remarkable, though. It's a bit strange, though, because our myth also say you gave that ability to us. Interesting. Maybe it's meant to be taken literally, meaning that when that ability was given to us, you lost it. Or maybe we never had it in the first place. Humans are known to have created a lot of things out of nothing, after all. We only need to discover how to create and use fire because we didn't have a natural ability to do so. We have a proverb that sums this up pretty well. What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. So a lack of natural abilities drove innovation forward. What an interesting thought. Here's another thing. You may have many different images of humans, but in the end, only one can be right. It's also possible that what you've been led to believe about humans doesn't actually refer to us at all. Are you implying that you aren't human? No, I'm just saying that if you really had been in contact with humans before, as your myths imply, they would need to belong to the same species as me and thus be very similar to myself. If they aren't, then either they weren't humans at all, or they have very different origins. So you're saying there's a possibility that our humans and your humans may be something different altogether? I suppose you are right in that, in the way that our images of humans are very inconsistent. They certainly can't all be humans in the way that we would refer to a single species. The name would probably be reserved for yours. And we haven't even touched the other two categories of humans. What did you call them again? Non-physical human entities and spiritual humans. What's the difference? Honestly, the definitions get a bit muddled here. Going by conventional belief, a ghost could be a human who has died and thus changed into a different form. We would call this a spiritual human. An angel, on the other hand, would be classified as a non-physical entity. What do you know about angels? Angels basically look like humans with wings. Their existence in ancient scripts used to lend some credence to the theories about humans having become dragons. Because of the wings? Exactly! But some of your dragon species don't have wings either. Yes, as I said, once you start delving into that kind of stuff, it all becomes very convoluted. When we met, you also told me something about a four-headed human. Right. With that, we go into the realm of creatures that just don't make much sense at all. Having four heads just seems unlikely from an evolutionary perspective. That might not really matter if we were talking about a non-physical entity or a spiritual being, though. So in the end, you have a lot of different ideas whose only connection to one another is that you use the word human to describe them in some way. And they share at least some basic characteristics. You fit those as well, by the way. What are they? You certainly are not reptile like us, but you don't look like a conventional mammal either. We are mammals, though. Yes, but you look so different from other mammals, we know that. And ultimately, you are quite unique. We don't know any other sentient mammals. You've got a point there, I'll give you that. Strangely enough, we have plenty of human-like creatures in our mythologies as well. Oh, do tell! You already mentioned ghosts, but some other ones include dwarves, giants, fairies, and blemmies. I think I've heard of most of those before, but what is a blemmies? Basically, a blemis is a human without a head. A human without a head? How does that work? How do they eat? Instead of a head, they just have all their facial features on their chest. That's a rather weird mental image. There are also a lot of half creatures that share some characteristics with humans and other animals. Like merhumans? Sure. Lastly, there are creatures that are said to be able to shapeshift into human form. Strangely enough, some of our dragon myths said they could shapeshift into humans, or that certain countries' royalties were descended from dragons. That would imply that they are genetically compatible with humans. Apparently. Sounds rather outlandish if you ask me. We certainly can't shapeshift like that. Are you sure? To be fair, I never tried. Hang on! Did it work? Nope, still a dragon. Aww. Anyway, how come you know so much about myths? All part of being an ambassador. Not only did I learn about dragon myths in order to compare them to what you are like, but I also studied myths about creatures that are similar to humans so I could find out how similar they were to yours. Well, you're doing an excellent job so far, and it's bound to help me a lot with my game as well. You're gonna put all of that into the game? Let's just say it gives me some excellent material to work with. I thought you wanted to give an accurate portrayal of humans, not just collect myths. One species will certainly be modeled after you, but that doesn't mean we can't introduce some variety with the others. People will love it if we also bring more of the unusual myths to life. I see. But since we also want each of the normal human characters to be unique, I'd like to know how much variety there really is within your species. I've seen Reza before, so comparing him to you already gives me a bit of an idea, but how far do these differences go exactly? When we arrived here, you asked me if I was old enough to drink. That leads me to believe that your average human must be a lot taller. That's true. You could say Reza would be about the average for an adult. Not that it would be impossible to get a good deal bigger than him or even smaller than you, but those cases are rare and usually the result of medical conditions. I see. What about colors? Are there any humans who are blue like me? Not really. There's a certain spectrum of skin colors that can be lighter or darker, but so far I've seen a lot more variety in the dragons here. We do have quite a number of different eye colors, though. Interesting. As for things that aren't immediately visible, we also have different blood types, but I assume you know about that. We certainly have those as well. Some people even believe your blood type influences your personality. That, on the other hand, is news to me. Anything else you want to know? Whew. You already got so much. I'll have to think about if and how we can all work all this into the game. Have you worked on any other games before? I worked on a few small projects during the course of my studies and also interned at a studio before. This is on a completely different level, though. How so? It's my game, so I'm the one calling the shots here. It's a very different thing than just making a few graphics when you're part of a bigger team, for sure. I see. How long exactly have you been working on this? It must be several months now. I've got everything planned out, and a lot of the groundwork has already been done. The most difficult things are the characters themselves and to make sure all the details are accurate. Of course. Have you shown the game to other people yet? Sure, feedback is very important and part of a development process, so I regularly gather ideas and opinions from others. I even made a website to do this. And what do they say? All kinds of things, really. Sometimes it's hard to decide which ones have a good point and which can be disregarded. Overall, it seems there are many people who look forward to play my game, though. How many are we talking about? I don't know exactly. The counter on my website only tracks the number of visits, so I don't actually know how many different people there are. What if it doesn't work out? What do you mean? Well, you're investing a certain amount of time and money into making this game. Ideally, you want to make back your investment, hopefully get some profit on top of that. If the goal is to make money, sure. However, I just wanted to try my hand at doing something like this. If people are going to enjoy the result, that's great. Don't forget that I'll also have made something that I can put on my resume. At the very least, it'll have been a good learning experience. With that attitude, I suppose you really don't have anything to lose. I can always look for another job and maybe I'll end up working at a game studio, but I think once I've started doing something like that, I might not get this opportunity again. So it's now or never, huh? In a nutshell, yes. And that all works out with your career job? Sure, I can support myself this way and not really under any pressure since I don't have any deadlines to keep. Seems like you know what you're doing. I'd like to think so. What kind of tools are you using to make it? If I consider what some of your species look like, I'm having a hard time imagining how bigger ones could program a game. We do have devices tailored to each individual species. I can't deny that my dexterous hands make it a lot easier compared to some of the others. One downside is I have to keep my nails short or else using the keyboard gets a bit cumbersome. I imagine you'd have to be careful with those while working as a carrier anyway. You're right about that. One wrong move and you suddenly shredded the letter you were just going to hand to someone. That sounds unpleasant. Luckily, that kind of thing doesn't really happen to me anymore. Not only because of shorter nails, but once you've worked there for a while, you just learn to be more careful. It's a bit sad to not have them as a natural letter opener anymore, though. And it's not just for me. Some people ask me to open their letters for them, since doing that on their own can be quite difficult for some of the less dexterous and older ones. Have you been working as a courier for long? I just got this job a few months ago, but I had a part-time summer job at the post office when I was growing up. My species is perfectly suited for the job, so they were glad to have me on board. I can see why. Of course, being able to fly is a big plus. My size means I can't deliver anything big packages, but I often get assigned to urgent letters that have to be delivered as soon as possible. It's getting late. Maybe we should leave it at that for today. Yeah, I should probably head back to my apartment before it gets too dark. I got more than enough material to work with. Thanks a lot. Don't worry about it. I'll just consider it a public service. Honestly, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity, especially after getting nearly denied by Sebastian when I met you. Just make the best of it. I certainly will. I really have to get going now, so maybe I'll see you some other time. Sure, have a good night. Take care. Loss. Passion. Chapter 4. That's going to be all for this episode, boys and girls. God damn. That was a lot of fucking talking. If you like this episode, it might be a bit shorter than the previous ones. Give it a thumbs up or a like, whatever you wish to give it, whatever you wish to call it. I will be seeing you guys in the next episode of Angels with Scaly Wings. See you guys then.